transitioning into speed roaches, burrow movement. DieStar meanwhile doing CC first, 3CC, teching up very fast in basically a couple of Hellions with Marine Bio, or Marine Tank. And that was right around when the disconnect happened. I'd be really curious to see if TLO is going to go for the same build this time, or maybe if he's going to go for something different, or I don't know, DieStar.
I'm most curious about DieStar, like I said,
you think
in the part that wasn't aired. 2 racks is...
You think he's going to 2 racks?
I talked a little bit with TLO actually. I asked him about the Roach Burrow movements. I asked him why did you get it, and he was like, it regenerates faster than if you just have Burrow, and he told me like, if I can just save 3 or 4 roaches, it's already worth it if I can regenerate them. Yep. So I thought he had a good point.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy.
I totally forgot that it does increase the HP regen. It's because it's not in the tooltip, which is a little strange.
You might forget, but TLO will remind you if you play him with some burrowed roaches.
I'd be like, why are his roaches regenerating so fast?
Yeah.
And we're still waiting for TLO to connect to the game, so that's why we're still talking right now
instead of watching.
Yeah, I'm just gonna guess there's probably hate. That's right. So
you are so pessimistic.
I'm so pessimistic.
You think everyone is like out to get you all the time. We're like sitting here actually doing nothing. He's like, I bet stream chat is just going crazy right now. They're like, F these guys, like forget them, they're so bad. We're like not even talking.
I also point out to people that didn't know that I don't think this is fashionable, but it's very cold here, and it was this or die. And when you're faced with being unfashionable and death, you should choose the former.
I think it might just be the lack of gloves.
My constant goosebumps that you probably, if you subscribe to 1080p HD,
I think you should put the gloves back
on.
I
can put between games. I wear these to keep my hands from freezing, and I would put my jacket on, but then I would just look so cheesy.
Is that what you're saying? Are you saying I look cheesy?
Maybe your jacket's nicer than mine.
I got really cold during the break.
You don't look cheesy because of your jacket, but because of those.
What, these?
I don't know what you call them. But
they're fingerless gloves. They are gloves without fingers.
That's what you call them. Something else, Jared. What was it?
Oh yeah, it was something stupid.
Smoking gloves. What?
No. Meat. No, I forgot. Like
meat popsicle.
Meat hands or no?
Meat hands?
No, because in French it's like mitten.
Oh yeah, he thought. You were talking about how you
mittens,
thought thought I wore mittens.
Yeah. Mittens, yeah.
No, he wasn't referring to the gloves though. He was talking.
Really?
He just thought like my gloves, like I only own mittens.
Aw. Oh man, thank you. Red Eye's such a nice guy. And you know what? The game's loading. So we're gonna go into our casters. We actually switched them up to give them a break. Kaldor, Apollo, cast this.
Well, thank you. I obviously chose fashion over being warm or cold. Likewise, did you? We look good.
Yeah, we do.
But we're here now for the game. The rematch. TLO versus DieStar.
Yeah, it's been a long time since the first game kind of ended, and now we're jumping into game number 1 right away once again, and let's see if TLO goes for the same strategy or if we actually see a little bit of a difference here.
That's right. Refreshed. Let's begin this again. Bit of deja vu, or maybe not for a lot of people, because maybe just tuning in right now. I know a couple of you are, so welcome to the Intel Extreme Masters here in Katowice. That was probably pretty bad as well. But we're all going to at least attempt it once. Kaldor, would you like to have a go?
I'll take the next one.
All
Game number 2. But for now, let's introduce our players. Starting to the right side of Antigua and our Terran versus Zerg, we have the Millennium player. It is DieStar. And his opponent, starting cross position, of course, in red, is the German Zerg player, Liquid TLO.
Katowice. Vista.
Isn't it Katowice?
There you go. Katowice.
Not Za. Ce.
Ce. Sa? Ce. Which one? Which one?
Ce. Katowice.
Katowice.
I think.
Katowice. Katowice.
I mean, I think, but I don't know.
Alright, well, we do have a change from the previous series. As you guys can see here, we have a barracks opening by DieStar. And previously, he did open up Command Center. First, that is. So, it looks like he's queuing up the SCV, so he will be going for a Command Center shortly after that barracks. Not looking for the refinery early on to get a faster factory for Hellions or anything along those lines.
I really want to see if TLO, even if he changed up the strategy in this game, is once again going for the creep spread that showed us in game number 1 with the hatch cancel. One of the things that we also see a lot by TLO and other Zerg players these days is just trying to get the creep spread at the 3rd. You know, with the Queen walking forward, getting the Overlord there, dropping a little bit of creep, and just trying to delay this 3rd base of the Terran for as long as possible.
What TLO did in the previous set, I'm not sure if you saw it or not, is he sent out 2 queens really early on. So he went gasless, 2 queens out, and then built a hatchery in the middle of the map. Cancelled it and built creep tumors.
He's really known for that by now, isn't he?
Yes, he does it a lot, actually. Most notably on his stream, more so than in big tournaments, but definitely brought it out before, and we'll see if he's going to repeat something along those lines here.
It was always a little bit funny to me. Do you remember the times when Lucira would send out an Overlord with speed actually getting the creep spread and then just send 1 queen after it, and then spreading creep tumors the entire time, just skipping those steps?
Yeah.
And he improved the creep spread so much, but then nobody really did it anymore.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't really seen it from anybody, to be honest, looking to improve creep spread. Well, I mean, everybody looks to improve creep spread, but connecting from their main and natural outwards. Nobody goes the distance to start spreading creep on the other side of the map, for example. TLO, definitely one of those guys, and we'll see if he's going to do it again. So far, is gasless. It is a potential possibility if he builds the next 2 queens, lava injects, then sends them on a walk. We'll see. Of course, you have to build a hatchery and cancel it. You lose a bit of money with that, but it's well worth it in the long run.
We already have the next queens being queued up for TLO, so he's definitely going for this gasless build where you just try to get the queens out and will defend against Hellions and whatever the Terran player is throwing against you. With the queens primarily, he can also get a 3rd base with that, as long as he really spreads the creep between the 3 bases, and he has to do that quite fast if he wants to go for it. But at this point, he could go for so many different strategies, whereas DieStar is definitely opening things up with his reactor factory Hellions.
Both of them are changing a little bit. Previously, TLO sent 2 queens, but this time only 1. Which means he only has to build 1 excess queen at home now to replace the previous one. Instead of building 2, which means his gases are faster, and so on, he can build a faster 3rd base. So adapting a little bit more compared to previously. But likewise is DieStar, who opened up command center first, didn't rush towards Hellions like we're seeing here, and actually has double barracks down too pretty fast.
You know what I really like about TLO's creep spread in general is that he does it in a way, it has a purpose. It's not just there to spread creep in general to make it faster, but he always has a goal. In the first game that he talked about that we had to regame, he was trying to set this creep carpet for all the roaches that were streaming towards his opponent's base. And now he's trying to defend 3 bases with extra queens. So he's just walking in the middle of them and trying to spread the creep outward. I really like this a lot.
And on Antigua Shipyard, you do have difficulty spreading creep between your 3rd and your natural. At this stage of the game when Hellions can come out, but now there is going to be creep connecting all these bases, which will make it ultimately easier before speed is done for the Zerglings. So a good overall difference, but very similar opening from TLO, but a little bit different, as you said. Different plan in mind this time.
Yeah. Antigua is a map that I really enjoy watching TVZs because TVZ evolved on this map so much. Originally it was a Terran map, like Terran players were the favorite here. Taking the middle of the map, the center gave you this dominant position over the Zerg. You could get your 4th base as well quite easily. And now I feel things change a little bit. There are players, especially Zerg players like Lenok, that go for these 3 base timings with their Brood Lords, and it's really, really strong. It always differs in what kind of style you use. Zerg players that rely on this 4th base heavily still have a tough time against a Terran player who really knows his drops.
That's right. Well, at this current point, a bit of a facepalm moment for DieStar as his double tech labs in total of 3 were revealed. He's got Marauder Hellion here. TLO knows exactly what's going on. 1 Ling without speed got in. That should never happen, which is why it's a facepalm moment for DieStar. His plan has been revealed, and we'll see if TLO can deal with it. He should be fine.
The awful thing for him is that it doesn't... Usually, you know, when you scout it, you always have a couple of Marauders out there. You have a force that you can move out with, and the scout kind of triggers the move out of the Terran player, which is sometimes even when the lair is up and there's an Overseer, when it's really late. But at this point, he's caught with the spans down, as you said. It's way too early. TLO has all the time in the world to prepare for this.
Yeah, he's sitting at a comfortable 48 drones there. Now he started his massive amount of unit production. His Lings are going to go for a run by here. He knows that his opponent's on the edge of creep waiting to come in, and TLO's going to launch a counterattack while defending at home with 20-odd Lings that are in production.
This already buys him so much time. Running in with the Zerglings, picking off one of the Marauders at the same time going for lair. SCV is being pulled here. Wow, TLO is forcing DieStar back, and this gives him so much time to prepare, get more units out in the game, and maybe even finish +1/+1.
That's right. At the point of his movement out, he had about 25 links in total. Now in the units tab, he's got 40. He's almost doubled his unit count by buying time. And then not only that, we have Banelings being made. We have another run by possible. We have 1-1 on its way as well. If 1-1 completes, this is almost just dead, straight out over, especially with those Banelings.
Nice positioning for TLO too. He has those Banelings on the high ground already, so if DieStar starts to walk up with the Hellions, they will die immediately. And here come the Zerglings, another run by at the natural, also aiming to get into the main base.
Where are they going?
Banelings are a little bit off target here, and he realized that trying to flank him.
Well, he comes back from the north here, and it's going to detonate all over those Marauders. Not the best detonation, to be honest. It was definitely looking towards the Hellions.
Exactly.
Therefore, they survived. But look what's happening in DieStar's base.
Yeah, DieStar is now losing everything. In the main base, suddenly we have all those Zerglings taking down SCV after SCV. TLO still has to defend here, and he didn't want to use those Banelings for the Marauders. They have just way too much armor. He wanted to roll it into the Hellions, as you said, Apollo. But at this point, with the economy gone, TLO is looking like the winner in the game, and there it is.
Well, a completely different game from the previous series we saw. Quite straightforward, to be honest.
Definitely. So at this point, we have a 1-0 lead for TLO, and that was really well executed. Those run bys saved him big time.
Well, I mean, if you think about it from when you guys are playing at home, you don't have to deal with the threat head on. There are different ways to deal with it, and TLO displayed one of them. And remember, this is round 4. The winner of this best-of-3 series moves on to play in the main tournament tomorrow, and will get a decent seed through qualifying first.
Exactly. He needs one more map, but of course we want to hear about the next game, so let's just give it over to the analysis desk. Let's see what those guys have to say about the game.
Welcome back. The analyst desk didn't play out at all like the previous game.
No,
what were the key differences right out of the gate?
I mean, just right away, first game was CC first versus 15 hatch, and basically like kind of delayed third. Proxy creep tumor very far out into the map. This game we saw one Rax expand. I guess DieStar was worried about possibly like a 10 pool meta game or a 6 pool, and then TLO went for like a really fast third, relatively quick speed, and then that proxy hatch creep tumor was actually pretty close in. Just trying to get creep outside of the third, that makes it a bit easier to defend. And then a couple things that were pretty interesting there. DieStar going for this Reactor Hellion 3 racks with Tech Lab, which is a really aggressive build in TVZ. It's one of the strongest 2-base timings you can do in terms of just sheer brute force. You have a ton of Marauders, a ton of Hellions, and with that build, what you really need to do is get a critical mass and kind of send it at the Zerg. And what ended up happening in that game is, because of the 2 separate Ling run bys that forced DieStar to kind of fall back, he wasn't able to focus entirely on the attack, and so some of the Baneling hits were a little more effective than they would have been otherwise, and also he had to divert some of his units back home to defend. I think if DieStar had walled in the top of his natural ramp and then had a little better map awareness, that push would have looked totally different. He would have been able to commit more fully to it. He wouldn't have lost his economy. He still could have, if he had just taken out the third with that push and not taken any economic damage at home, then that probably would have put him in a pretty good position.
All right, well, are we getting right into the next game, or are we going to check out a clip from a replay?
I mean, it was really just the Ling run bys there. I think we can just keep going.
I think so. All right, well, the players are getting ready. They're almost there, where the second map is Whirlwind. Is that right?
Yep.
Is that a map? Okay.
It is a map. So
I would hope so. It's Whirlwind, Liquid TLO against Millennium DieStar.
Yeah, Whirlwind is a pretty interesting map. It's one of the few maps that's being played right now that is a 4-player map. So the last one that we really saw in heavy play was Teldarim Altar, which has kind of been phased out recently. And it's important to note, with a 4-player map, it's relatively hard to do builds like 11-11 proxy barracks. There's just too many possible spawning locations.
You mean 4 players and all 4 spawning locations are game?
Yes. Yes. And so let's say you spawn in the top right-hand corner. Where do you put the proxy barracks when your opponent could be in any of the other 3 corners?
So chances are we'll see something a little safer, maybe?
I would guess DieStar is going to CC first, TLO is going to hatch first, and DieStar may even just go for 3 CC right after that. And part of the reason that seems like it might be more likely is because it's hard for Terran to do, say, a proxy 11-11. It's also hard for Zerg to get their overlords in position and get the good scouting that they need. The first overlord, you only have a 1 in 3 chance of finding the right base. The second overlord might be too slow to really get in and get information before the Marines are out. And so if you go for very greedy play, especially if you know your opponent's not inclined to do that kind of aggression, then that might be a little more effective.
All right, well, the players are in game. We're going to take it over to the casters. Have fun.
And we are going to jump right into it. We have TLO with a 1-0 lead versus DieStar. If he takes it, then he's already qualified for tomorrow. So let's see if he can pull it off. We have Whirlwind being the map, of course, as already mentioned in our Terran versus Zerg. The second game here. And starting to the bottom left in blue is our German Zerg player. It's Liquid TLO.
That's right, and down here is the Polish representative in this series. It is, of course, DieStar. And we'll see if he has what it takes to come back against TLO in this series.
And I think that QXC, with what he just said at the analysis test, has a very strong point. This is a map where you see usually the long game. We sometimes have pushes from a Terran player into bases going for exactly the strategy that DieStar already displayed on the Tika shipyard. Hellion Marauder, quite popular. But in general, I would say that we can expect a bit of a longer game on map 2. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a GSL map. Neither of them will have very much experience playing the map. But both of these players will watch the GSL regularly. They'll know how it plays out, so they'll know how to play the map. They wouldn't have played on it, but they can just know how it plays out. It's a passive map. It's a slower map, as you said. It's large.
You're making actually a really good point, because when I was standing right next to TLO when he was vetoing the maps against DieStar, and he was a little bit surprised that DieStar did not veto the GSL maps.
Yes, that's right. Maybe DieStar watches the GSL every day. Every day. Maybe watches Code S, Code A, GSTL, everything.
I guess the TLO probably practiced on this map a little bit more than DieStar, because he was in Korea, he was practicing with his teammates there, he was also preparing for the GSTL, so a few of these things where he probably practiced and trained with people on the map more than DieStar, which is why he was more likely really surprised about the map being in there. But for him, it's a decent map. It's a good map for Zerg, getting into the late game.
Absolutely. These positions can be a little bit scary, though, depending on how both of them play out, actually. You know, it could be very aggressive from TLO in these positions if he was to do anything crazy. We know how he likes to play, very aggressive, unorthodox, and very difficult to read. But likewise, from DieStar too, the drops are going to be a lot easier depending on where the overlords are spread. Is DieStar going to get a Viking out earlier on? That's something we see a lot from Terran players of a recent, to clear out the overlords to make it easier to drop. And we'll see how much of a difference these positions will play. Oh, look at that. Can't quite see the command center.
And that's dangerous. That is so dangerous. If you assume that your overlord is in the right position and then it isn't, you assume your opponent is starting somewhere else on the map. So let's see how TLO is going to deal with this.
Though.
Yeah, okay, now he sees it. Now that the command center is finished, he sees it mining, so that's good. But yeah, what we're going to see is how is TLO taking his third base. Usually you would take it more a bit to the right from the position where he spawns, but with the Terran starting position, I guess he's going to take the one in the center to the left.
Yes, it should be. It should be that way. Looking at DieStar's build, you know, command center first into double barracks here. Double barracks offers him protection against a couple of, not so much all-ins, but aggressive plays that Zerg can do. Around about at this point, they can start to build about 16 lings instead of drones.
Lifestyle.
And even if you have a bunker, that you're still going to lose it, or lose a lot of SCVs, and that's the reason for the double barracks. Once again, from TLO, we are going to see the creep spread.
Exactly, goes for the hedge cancel. He has 2 queens out once again, which allows him to get these extra creep tumors out and spread the creep a lot more aggressively towards his opponent's base. And one of the things that we sometimes see on Whirlwind in particular is these hidden ninja expansions. I don't think that we're going to see one in this game from how they both opened up. But this is something that always kind of blows me away a little bit, how players now have this awareness of exactly how many units opponents should have at a certain moment in time. Because every single time I cast this map at the GSL and one of the players goes for a hidden expand, the opponent immediately starts scouting and searching for it.
Yeah, it's not easy to tell, but you can tell. There's something that's going to be wrong, whether it be his unit count, the amount of, or the lack of potential third where it should at least be.
Or just the timing.
Yeah.
And here we now have those Marines moving out. Is he dropping a scan? Nice.
Yeah. Very good scan there, eliminating what TLO has done every single game here today. And that puts the creep spread back to 0, because TLO invested the initial set of energy out in the middle of the map instead of on the edge of creep there. So that's going to put him quite far behind. TLO immediately throws down a layer with all 4 gases too.
And we have him now with the creep spread right at his natural. But of course he's walking on creep, trying to drop a few tumors. But you are right, this is definitely working with his momentum. He's losing a lot of his creep momentum that he had earlier. Now we have a Roach Warren for him building up and the lair tech, so we'll see how he's going to use that. Whereas now DieStar is just getting his 3rd command center in the main base, trying to get the Hellions out, the Stim as well, trying to just control the map for now.
A little bit of a supply bot there for DieStar, just very, very small, but a detail that will push TLO ahead in terms of supply and will continue to rise. But with the lack of third base here from TLO, we could be seeing either the Spire coming down or the Infestation Pit immediately from TLO. The way that he's playing this out is more tucked tight together. And actually, look at that.
That
Neither
is
of them.
awesome.
This is something you don't see every day, and well, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be this guy.
Yeah, exactly. We have him really cutting drones, so another indicator that he doesn't plan on taking a third base. And with the the Nidus network, of course, being on the production tab, TLO is going for an all-in strategy here, or at least for a very hard push. And
He's trying to get it in the main base here with this Overlord. But there's a command center floating across. I don't think it's quite going to see it.
I'm actually even a little bit surprised that we don't see an overseer for him.
That's true, actually. It's true. I guess he wants every little bit of gas into those roaches.
Yep.
He only has about 18 in the back. That's only 3 roaches at that point. And I'm sure right now DieStar's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on? He's just finished with an engineering bay. If he builds turrets, he's obviously thinking along the same lines as a usual Zerg player would be doing. But there's Nidus Swim, and unfortunately, that one there is right next to the command center. It will distract his opponent, but TLO needs to get one in the main base.
If he gets one in the main base, he could have dropped the first Nidus already in the main. That would have been devastating for DieStar, because our Terran player just doesn't have anything at this point that he could use to help out against the roaches.
Yeah, and TLO didn't want to risk it, because if you put it in the main base and it didn't
God.
work, oh dear.
That hurts. That hurts a lot. The Hellions trying to move back to help out and running right into these roaches. And now, Apollo, we have that second Nidus network that you talked about right in the main base.
Yeah, and this is just putting DieStar in. To be honest, I don't think it's even possible to win from here. He's got a handful of Marines, 15, 19 Marines, 81 supply capped.
Yeah, he's supply blocked again. He just had to drop additional added supply with his command center. Now just look at this attack. So many CVs trying to help out. He's losing a lot here. He already lost 30 workers. DieStar is in so much trouble at this point.
He's in trouble. TLO should probably back off and go to the other Nidus Worm, because his carapace wasn't quite done. He obviously can still do a lot of damage around. Marines without combat shields, without any upgrades at all, are still going to die to roaches. 96 supply to 48. And with that amount of SCVs gone down to 13.
Right now, TLO could really start to take his third base and then drop again if he wants to. He is in a position where he has the much better economy with 45 drones against 13 SCVs. And this entire army that we have here for DieStar is all that the Terran player has at this point. He needs to rely on the mules, but he can't even siege up the tanks. Siege mode not done. The roaches just going up the ramp, and DieStar is losing more and more, and most likely the game.
Yeah, I mean, even if these roaches don't die, the ones that are coming out will finish off these Marines. DieStar, 5 SCVs. Oh dear me. Obviously, he does have 3 command centers, but TLO running away from those Marines. Still at 48 drones, 6 SCVs, 11 roaches back at home, and DieStar back on 1 base. And slowly but surely, TLO is going to be looking at a 2-0 victory and a first place seeding out of the open bracket to grab a decent spot in tomorrow's main tournament.
And here comes the third base for TLO, just in case, playing it safe here. Also upgrading still, +2 armor now on the tab, as well as Pathogen Glance. Another forward Nidus network shortens the distance towards the opponent's base. And DieStar is now even heavily contained on 1 base. He can't even get his natural up again.
Well, it's DieStar. Balls of steel, some may say. As he picks up probably the only Marines back at home, picks them up and tries a drop. TLO already there and waiting.
Yeah, the emphasis here being on trying.
Yeah, as he obviously doesn't succeed with that. It was a good attempt. Nevertheless, though, TLO, very annoying. Creep spread towards the third, towards the natural, making sure his opponent stays on 1 base for as long as possible. And if you don't understand StarCraft, 1 base, a handful of SCVs, you are not making an army anytime soon. And TLO has a fantastic income, as you can see. The mules are helping out a bit, but still roughly double the income right now for TLO. So for every minute that goes by, it's getting worse.
And DieStar's trying to get a few Marauders into the game to help against these roaches, also clearing the pre-tumors and spending the energy from the command center now on the scan in the middle of the map. He really needs the energy for the mules. He is still far, far behind in Harvesters, 18 to 54, mining from 1 mineral line instead of 3. As you can see, TLO just getting upgrades, getting Infestors out, going for this tech now. Even Hive Tech coming up for him. This is like the worst case scenario for DieStar. He's making an effort. A beautiful fungal here.
Yeah, good fungal. Won't kill all of them, but it's going to put them down. All those fungals will if he can grab them. And TLO, is he going to grab them down? They do go down, eventually kill off those Marines. And that is the extent of the past 10 minutes.
Yep.
Well, not 10 minutes, but 5 minutes worth of army building.
Another drop though at the third base, and this one is taking down quite a few drones. Now finally TLO realizing what's happening and pulling them away. But so far DieStar was only able to take down 6 workers, not enough, and there's the GG.
And The surrender comes out, and it looks like TLO moves on in first place out of the bracket, or his side of the bracket. Congratulations to him, as that puts him into the tournament. He was expecting to be in the main tournament, just wasn't 100% certain it would be first or second out of his segment in the bracket.
It was really well played by him, and with the Nidus Network play that we saw that was never really scouted by DieStar, he had an amazing opportunity to take the game, and he took it. We are throwing things back to the analysts, and let's see what Todd, QXC, and Jared have to say about the last game.
Well, that game caused KXC to swear a lot. Do you want to explain to everyone at home the parts of the game that made you swear?
I just really don't like creep.
I heard that one in there.
That was the main thing that I was discussing. But I did like DieStar's decision here. He knows that basically in every game, TLO has done some kind of proxy hatch to increase his creep spread a little bit more than it would be naturally. And DieStar opens with one of the few transitions out of CC first that can really punish that quite effectively. So he goes into CC first, 2 racks. Notice he's got, 7 Marines. And these 7 Marines